The nature of ukemi for Aikido, or the falling techniques in Aikido, is very different from the other martial arts. The whole purpose behind the ukemi is to neutralize the dichotomous relationship that exists between attacker and defender. What the attacker, or nage, is doing in Aikido is to blend harmoniously with the attack. What the attacker is trying to do is to commit himself or herself fully, 100% to the movement, and then to also help in leading both nage's energy and uke's energy into a direction that doesn't cause harm to anybody. Ukemi, it comes from the root word is ukeru, to receive. You're receiving the nage's technique. Aikido is a non-competitive martial art, and at the same time as it's non-competitive, it's crucial for each practitioner to keep it alive. You don't have the competition to keep it alive, so you need very sincere, strong, powerful ukemi. So as you come in for an attack, it's like going through a revolving door. As fast as you come in, you go out at the same speed. So it requires that each practitioner be very sensitive and at the same time sincere with the attack, so that even though there's no competition involved, it doesn't become stale or a dead type of a movement. The most basic fear that any human being has is being dropped. And even as a baby, if you're going to be dropped, you'll see that as soon as you take your hands away from a child, they naturally hold their breath because it's a natural fear. So ukemi, the practice of ukemi, helps get you out of that mindset, relaxes your fears about taking the fall, so that you open your psyche to see how it is that you're being thrown. And taking ukemi from good people is the primary way that you learn how to throw. The ukemi that I practice is relevant to people who practice any style of Aikido, because it starts out with just the basic elements of back falls and forward rolls, and also falling from pinning techniques as well. Then with that as a basis, you can branch out to modify these techniques in any way that you need to, given the particular style. There are basic principles that happen, principles of falling that you see in every single technique. Every time someone's thrown, there's certain things that must happen. First, if you're being thrown well, your balance is taken right away. So the first thing is to maintain a measure of calmness within the chaos of having your center taken. And as a very practical way to deal with this movement, when your balance is being taken, the practice is to turn inward. Because when you turn closer to your partner, you turn your center towards your partner's center, you meet center to center with your partner, there is a certain calmness within the storm. It's just like the eye of a hurricane. It's a calm spot where you can gain a lot of perspective within the chaos. There's a big thing, people get their balance taken, and it's natural to want to tense up. But that's really where relaxation has to come in, because with the relaxation comes responsiveness. And a soft body, soft mind working together is much more responsive than a tension-ridden body and a mind that worried about the consequences of a fall. So we're going to be studying the ukemi, the art of falling, and it's an art that basically is about being as spontaneous as you can be. In order for that to happen, there are certain specifics that you need to know. We're going to start with back rolls, and we're going to go on to forward rolls, and we're going to work from pinning techniques and spontaneity type practices to develop fluidity. From there, we're going to go on to break falls. this. One foot we're going to tuck under, like that, and the other foot's going to be semi-bent in front of you. I'm going to start with some real basics, and then later on during the day we may get to other styles of doing it, or of doing the back roll, but it's good to stick with one style and one particular way of doing it for a while until you have that so that you know it by second nature. So let's practice just rolling on the back as you fall back, look down towards your belly button. And you can alternate your feet. You can come up to knee, shin, and instep, and then sit down again. Knee, shin, and instep, and sit down. Then stand all the way up. Then tuck your foot after you stand up. Tuck your foot so that your knee, shin, and instep touches the mat. And then fall back again. And stand up. Okay? So let's try that together. Keep in mind when you're falling, especially doing a forward roll or a backward roll, keep things round. If you go to an oval shape, you're going to hit funny as you go down. So it's almost as if you're trying to get your back to stand up the way a cat does when it gets angry. Okay, so just think of curling your back and staying in a round position. Anything that flattens out is going to get caught. So now let's practice slapping the mat. Slapping the mat is what you do in order to break your fall. And it's a very relaxed motion. You see people doing it a lot. It's a loud noise and it sounds painful. But really, slapping the mat should be no more than the discomfort of clapping your hands together. So I'd like you to practice slapping the mat, keeping your arms soft and using the entire surface of your arm to slap. And pretend that the surface of the mat is very hot. And when you slap, you want to pull away the mat immediately. Try to slap at about a 45-degree angle. If it's higher like this, you won't break your fall. If it's too close, you risk falling on top of your arm and getting hurt. So 45-degree angle, practice slapping on one side and the other side. So now, let's put that together with this back roll. So just as your side touches the mat, slap at the same time. So now the same thing from a standing position. Tuck the foot. As I go back, I'm going to look over my shoulder. Before we go into the full roll, just practice throwing your feet over your outside shoulder so that your shoulder and feet touching. And then come back again. So you're going to roll, look over your outside shoulder, and put your feet down. So where you look is real important to get your head out of the way. Place your feet side by side. Don't let your knees come down. Let's continue this movement. And then roll forward again. Back and forward. So this is actually easier than the exercise you just got finished doing. As you go back, put your knee down to the mat and stand. Okay, so as you go back, put your knee down to the mat first. and stand on your back leg. As you go back, knee goes down first, and then stand. When the head goes down, the hips go up. The hips go down, the head goes up. Okay, so this time, let's go back to the sitting position, and from here as you go over, slap the mat. The same timing as what we did before. Slap the mat. Right over. As your side touches, slap the mat. The slap helps to spring you over your shoulder. So this time I'm going to have Carol hold on to my belt. And part of learning how to fall backwards, the thing with ukemi is that you can't always fall when you want to. You're learning how to fall from a chaotic position. So we're going to get the point now where I'm kind of leaning backwards and depending on my partner to give me support. I'm not giving her a whole lot of weight right now, but I am leaving it up to Carol for my balance a little bit. And when I ask Carol to let go, she's going to let go. Please, okay. And then I'm going to do a back roll. So let's practice. The idea behind this is that when you're falling, it's hard to fall. You're not always in control. Like this. You can practice this way by yourself for a while until you get the idea of a back roll and a forward roll. But really, it's done when you're like this. You have to know how to fall. Or when you're getting thrown backwards, you have to be able to fall without any notice and in any direction at all. So we're going to be practicing taking the balance, giving up your own balance, and then falling backwards. Notice I don't go down in a heap as soon as you let go. There's like a little pause there for a while. Now what that means is that I don't, hold on, don't let this go of me. I'm not giving them all my weight like this, like a plank, but I'm bending a little bit. How much weight do you feel?
Very little.
Maybe a couple pounds, right? Now let's go. There's a, see, I got plenty of time, provided that I don't collapse my chest. I don't collapse. If I give them a lot of weight and I let go, and I collapse, I'm going to hit the mat hard, right? That's what you don't want to do. That's no good. Okay. From here, open. You can go back. Now let go. The next thing I'd like to work on is the forward rolls. We're going to start off doing rolls almost in slow motion. It's kind of a catch-22. You need to work it slowly first, but you can't really do it slowly. But we can. I'm going to start by getting everybody down into their hips. Everybody stand up and just bend your knees a little bit. And pretend that you're like a puppet that's being held from very elastic-like strings. Your elbows are being held and your knees are being held. And it's a very soft kind of a feeling in your hips. And you're not staying on one plane constantly, but you're moving a little bit from one side to the other. Okay, now with this feeling, take some of the bounce out of it and just kind of roll back and forth. Put your knees on your elbows, too, a little bit, like that. See, it's a tremendous hip opening kind of a thing. So your backside almost touches the ground, almost touches the mat. That's it. Okay, so now, shake it out. Okay. Then down again. From here, I'm going to shift all the way over and reach for the mat. I reach for the mat, and it helps. What that does is it obscures my shoulder, so my shoulder doesn't protrude like this. If my shoulder protrudes when I roll, I hit it. If I extend my elbow and reach, it hides the shoulder, and I can roll better. So practice shifting way over the forward leg. And then don't do your roll here. Reach out a little bit, and then spring right off of the forward knee. Push strongly into the roll. Reach, push strongly into the forward roll. Should only hear your clothes touching the mat. That how you place your hand down to the mat first is critical. So have your partner's fingers, or as you're rolling, place your fingers back towards yourself. If you place your hand out the other way, as you go over top, you'll sprain your wrist. Okay, so always point the fingers of the forward hand back. And then other hand goes down like this. Right, so that points in the other direction. There's like a space here. It's almost as if there's some sort of a inflatable something that's in here that keeps you from collapsing. And it's a diagonal tap that you want to take across your back, pushing off very strongly with the forward leg, kicking the back leg up and over. And at all times, pushing strongly with the arms. Don't let the arms collapse, because that'll bring it down on your shoulder. So go for it. By just doing Tai no Henko first, this basic blending exercise. Okay, and let's kind of first get in touch with it with this movement. Practicing keeping the space between your palm and your partner's wrist closed completely. Notice how my entire body folds around my partner's movement. Stay right there. Yeah. So now Carol's going to continue circular motion. The common tendency with ukemi is to move your feet before you exhaust your other means of movement. By moving your feet first, it's not always the most economical way to move. Very slowly. Let's start off with this way. Carol completes first the Tai no Henko, but now very, very even slower than that. As she starts to move, I lengthen my arm, my chest, and I start to move with my partner. There also has to be a little bit of a tilt to these turns, just like a racetrack for a race car has to turn a little bit so that the car doesn't go rolling off. The same thing with your movement. As your partner leads around in a circle, tilt one shoulder down and move. Here. Tilt one shoulder down. Move with your partner. Why should I hang on to somebody's wrist like that? Run around in a circle, right? Why should I do it? Why not just let go? Or from here she does that and let go and give her punch. Well, we're working on a certain kind of an exercise right now, just in being able to follow and be responsive to a person's lead. So if I come in with the ski, she does a technique, I can carry this over to that type of movement. We'll be getting to that later. But that's one thing. It's just, first of all, you need to learn how to follow a lead and get soft and elastic. But also the idea behind this isn't a confrontational sort of a thing. Aikido is an art that takes the dichotomy of winner and loser, attacker and defender out and suggests that there's a common goal here. At first we're opposing each other, but then my job is to give my partner the energy to work with and at the same time keep her sharp as well. As you see as we go on, you keep your partner sharp through ukemi. But for right now, work on the elasticity and relaxation. Another thing too, as you go around, you'll find that you'll want to make small little steps like this. Okay? Make your steps larger. Fewer steps, but larger steps. And listen to the sound that your feet make. There's a whole aspect of ukemi that doesn't relate really to forward rolls or backward rolls, but it's just how to follow a lead. When you're being taken around in a circle, it's really easy to fly away. If my partner, for example, does irimi nage from I need to stay real close to it. And there's a certain way that I tilt my own body so that I stay with it. It's easy. Some people get tied up in, as your partner comes around behind you to do the technique, you get too far away because you're thinking, he's grabbing me, I want to get away from him. But if I try to get away from him, what happens is I wind up floating away and actually get thrown harder as a result of that. So the thing is always to get in close to your partner. Pretend that you're trying to listen to your partner's heartbeat as you go around. It's reversal. From here, it's as if I'm trying to listen to his chest. As I'm getting close to him, one shoulder comes down, the other one goes up, so that I'm taking the turn in kind of a tilt. Go for it. Carol's going to lead me around like that. Now let's take it a little slow. So as Carol starts this movement, I'm going to lengthen, 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 lengthen before I step. And that also helps me to get in closer to my partner. Go. You fall backwards. Some of the throws require forward ukemi. Some require more of a sideward type of a movement, especially from the pinning techniques. And most basic pinning technique is Aikido. So as a solo practice, I'm going to have us practice this movement. Perching yourself out on one foot, coming down onto your knee and forearm. Use your back leg as a counterbalance so that you don't come down as hard on your forearm. Okay, this movement's from this kind of a technique. A common thing that people do is they turn away from the technique like this. First of all, it exposes my back to my partner. Also, if she sweeps my foot, I'm going to go down. So to be more responsive, keep your foot back. And this way you're turning towards your partner, you're looking towards her, you're present with her, participating every moment. Now there comes a point where it's easier for me to turn this way in order to make contact in the other way. Again, we're getting back to that basic principle of never taking force straight on, but always turning with it, taking it on a diagonal. Continuously rotating. Never stop. As Carol pushes down, I don't take it on my elbow. If I stop, my shoulder goes, my elbow goes, and my wrist goes. But if I keep moving with it, it's a lot easier. So we've been working a number of things. We worked with back rolls, partial back rolls, then full back rolls. We worked a little bit with forward rolls. We also did a lot of work with just how to take a turn and staying close to your partner. And we extended that to where you make the movements much larger than the Nage's movement. This is very important to do, and it takes the stress off of individual parts of the body. We also work pinning techniques, such as Aikido. Okay? That's also something that's very important. One thing I'd like to touch on for a couple of minutes now is the most painful technique in Aikido. And this is, well, some consider it the most painful. Nikkyo. Now, when a person applies Nikkyo, if you try to pull away from it, the pain intensifies. But as the person applies Nikkyo, if you turn into it, and there's pain involved in this, you know, in Aikido as well as anything that you do, it's really something that's a good practice for you, somehow that you grow and develop. If you meditate, your knees feel like, oh God, you sit for a couple hours, it feels like they're gonna fall off. You know, if you do yoga, there's certain pain that you gotta come to terms with in order to get through to the next place. With Aikido, it's the same thing. There's this pain that comes from something like Nikkyo. Now I can either resist and try to escape it, which intensifies it for me, or I can try to get closer to it and try to understand it. There's a lot that you can absorb in terms of pain with your breath. So when your partner applies the pressure, you can move in towards her more, getting closer. Eventually, if you get real conditioned, you can place your forearm right on your partner, and she can't do Nikkyo to you anymore. Okay? So there's a point where you can relax so much that you get right to the core of the technique, and there's a calm spot. So for right now, let's work with real sensitivity. Just doing a little bit. She applies Nikyo. You move. If you brace up on one knee, you're going to get trapped. Keep both knees down. Once you get pinned to this point, so that you can move forward or back or however you want to move. Okay, and work with approaching the pain, bending the arm, and softening around it. Okay, let's try a little bit of Nikyo. Most of what we've been working with has been very static kind of practice, which is very important. The next step is to make it more fluid. So I'm going to start with an opening movement this time. Move that way, yeah. And just come in and grab the rest. Okay. No, yeah. That's right. Okay. And I'm going to step to the side and shift back. The whole time, staying center to center with your partner. So as I go into attack, I'm not attacking with my hand like this, but I'm approaching with my center even as I step forward. And it's a center to center connection. The hands get de-emphasized, and it's your center approaching your partner's. Moving. When weight is applied to me, I absorb it with everything. Not just with my arm, but with my entire body. Another basic principle is that you make your movements twice as large as Nage. So if you make your movements twice as large, you kind of surround your partner's movement and can neutralize it a lot better. Now, Shihonage is being applied. It's best to work on this first. Carol's not just going to fall backwards. This part softens and closes. The outside part of her ribs softens and opens. And she's not going to fall straight back, but she's going to fall more in a circular sort of a movement around me. So from here, as I apply Kotegaeshi, I can also take my hand and kind of place a pad under her head just to direct her into the fall. So this way she won't hit her head on the floor. You should pretend that someone's doing that to you as you're doing the thrill so that your head kind of shifts in a circle a little bit. Wherever your head goes, the rest of your body follows. If you fall straight back while your partner's taking you around, your arm gets caught in the middle. So always keep your shoulder on your hand, like that. Fall in a circular motion. We're doing more than just falling backwards. I'm leaning over, getting closer, again turning my center towards my partner. But after I fall, I continue the movement across my inside leg over the outside leg, which helps my hips to move along with the technique more. You're want to turn in. There's a common tendency to want to turn away. If you turn away, you get slung real hard to the mat if you're lucky. Also, what may happen is that your elbow can go wrist and shoulder as well. So to stop all that from happening, turn towards your partner and then soften. Turn, throw your inside leg over the outside. As you finish the fall. When my partner applies pressure downward, notice how I take it. She applies pressure and the movement of her body. And I set up the technique so that I can make the next movement. So approach with your center. Breakfalling means, and the breakfall term is taken from judo because that's what judo players do. They break their fall with slapping the mat. There are some Aikido groups that call it a high fall. And I don't like to call it a high fall because you're not necessarily falling high. It's a very dangerous thing to do, to throw your body high up into the air. If my partner's taking me straight down, it's dangerous to just jump any way at all. You need to follow the technique and break your fall. And it's more similar to a forward roll than it is. So sometimes you are thrown up in the air high. I've done techniques where the person has come in under me this way and thrown me way over his shoulders. And then you go up and you fly for a while. That's a high fall. So you should know how to do it. It should be in there somewhere so that, you know, when you have to, you can pull the file on it quickly. But anyway, you should know everything, really. You should know everything, all kinds of falls. But we're going to work on the rudimentary break fall stuff. Let's review about slapping the mat. So you're going to lie on your back and just turn from side to side like this and slap. So you slap the mat with your hands, and we're going to be slapping with the feet, and by doing that, the body comes down lightly. It sounds horrible to a person, especially when they're not initiated into the different types of ukemi, and they see this. They go, oh my God, how can a person do that? But it should be no worse than and it doesn't hurt. So the same kind of thing. We're now going to practice doing the footwork. The feet are going to land the same forward roll. If you have your knee, shin, and instep like this, place the other foot so that it's halfway between your knee and your ankle. Okay, so that when you land, you're going to land like that. So we can this way and then back again. Things to watch out for. Don't land like this, okay? With one foot on top of the other. And fellas, don't land like that, okay? Because that'll rack you up real bad. Also, point your knee towards the ceiling. Some methods, they leave the leg up like this, pointing towards the ceiling. If you feel more comfortable lifting your knee and pointing it towards the ceiling, that's fine as well. But the thing is to take the shock of the fall and spread it out over your entire body. So let's lie down and take a spot on the mat and just practice the footwork. Shift from one side to the other. Some people are falling like this, all reaching the leg all the way over like that. You're going to pull your hip out. Keep your foot right there, halfway between your knee and your ankle, right, when you do that. Also, don't land like this, because that's going to hurt your ankle as you come down. Don't let any point hit the mat. Try to have every contact be something where you can spread it out over a larger surface. Okay, so avoid that. Do that more. Don't do this. Don't cross it all the way over, but have it come down like that. So now don't practice hitting so hard. Light and specific. Also, some are staying on their back and just letting their feet move. If you hit the mat like this, you're going to knock all the wind out of yourself. Turn over onto your side. And keep your head up off the floor. When I'm doing this, my head stays up. And now the break fall is part of a roll. So come down to the mat, roll, and slap out. So you're going to do your forward roll, slap out. Again, you can also, if you need to, you can keep one leg up in the air like that, right, if that makes it easier. Otherwise, you can place the leg down, the foot down. I used to learn break falling like this, more of a judo approach, that way. And that's good, provided that everything is perfect. However, if the timing's off slightly, and you're falling like this, and the ankle hits first, it puts pressure on the knee. And you'll find that you can, unless your landing is just right all the time, you can hurt your knee. So what I do is I tuck my foot in. That way there's no problem with putting pressure on my knee. And I land the same way as I would for a roll, which is more consistent anyway. Back as if I'm going to do a forward roll, but then I'm going to let my head go down here. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing. Stay real close though. Okay? At the same time, don't give her lots of weight either. It's fairly safe. If you stay up here, don't go on the kidneys here, all right? So do it a little higher. Okay? Put your shoulder here, and your head's going to end up in here. All right, and the other hand can also use your part. She's strong this way, so you can use that for support. It's if you don't think about it too much, it's as easy as rolling off a log. You just kind of boom right over top. It's not one of those things to think about. It's kind of because if you start thinking about it, you'll never do it. Because why? You know, from here, get real close as if you're listening to Carol. And go right up. The right shoulder down. Go for it. Yes, good. Okay, Ariel. Right shoulder down. Go for it. Good, stay right there. Okay. That's it. Okay. Not going to break fall yet. Not yet. We're going to do the lead up to the break fall. Over here, I'm going to pretend that I'm doing ballet at this point. And I'm going to perch myself up on one foot like this and lift from the sternum as I come down, like that. Okay? Keep your hand low and look way over. And then like that. And then get the movement freer. Because eventually, you're going to do that, but not yet. From here, we're going to look over and down. Look way over. It's as if you're doing a gentleman's bow, like this. The only difference is that you're picking up your leg as you do it. Now we're going to practice doing this. We're going to go over like this. 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Very slowly, you'll get a chance to see that this is exactly what we've been doing before. Here, I go around, but now, from here, as my partner throws me, instead of holding on to her wrist, she's holding on to my wrist. But I'm doing the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Exactly the same. You know, when you watch the movies of O-Sensei, the movies of him when he was an older guy and throwing, he does a lot of the times, from my own perception, the gesture of a technique. And when he does this kind of a gesture, I mean, his body and everything is in a different kind of a form than when you're a young person. And it's up to the uke to understand the gesture of the movement and to move accordingly so that he can get his message across and he can represent his own teachings. I think that there's a lot that goes on in there that comes, of course, from O-Sensei's great understanding and background in the movement. Oftentimes, however, people watch O-Sensei do things like it seems almost like magic. He almost doesn't touch them or moves very little, and then he throws them. He can do that because of his tremendous background. People sometimes look at that, they don't understand, but they try to practice like that. So what happens is, as Carol goes to do the technique, I fall down by myself. And a lot of folks get into practicing like that. You know, they just put the hand up or whatever happens, or, you know, like this. Before she even has a chance to practice unbalancing me or anything, I hit the deck. Like this, which doesn't give your partner the practice that she needs. I'm of the opinion that practice starts with gono keiko, or very basic static practice, where you really study unbalancing and all the basic techniques, and that requires an uke that's present and participating with you moment by moment, all the way through the entire throw. So, as Carol goes through the technique, so that I can give her better practice in unbalancing me, I'm going to stay with it. Who knows what might happen at the very last second, right? So that you never give up as the uke. You're always present, moment by moment, with your partner throughout the entire, even here, when we finish. I'm very aware of our mawai, or of our distance. And when I step into Carol's space, and where is her space? Officially, her space starts right about here. From here, I can't do anything to Carol, really, unless I'm moving closer to her. Once I'm in here, I have to have something happen, because here she has access to me as well, right? So it's a very conscious practice. Sometimes at the end of practice, you'll see people take the fall, Nage standing there, and then they kind of stumble up into your partner's space without realizing that you're there. When your partner throws you, you're back, you're aware of your partner and very conscious of how you approach. When I step in, I'm with us. I started Aikido when I was 12 years old and I weighed 95 pounds. And I now weigh 185, 190 pounds. And I've had the experience of practicing ukemi at different sizes. A basic, kind of an unwritten rule is that if you're a smaller person taking ukemi, you need to practice being heavier, not less responsive, but heavier. And if you're physically a very large, heavy person, then your goal is to make yourself lighter in an effort to be, again, more responsive and sensitive to what's happening. So there's no ideal body type for Aikido practice. However, people who are larger or smaller have to focus on different things. People bring to Aikido all sorts of shall we say, karmic experiences, accidents that may have happened, injuries, people of all different body types and of all different conditions come to the practice of Aikido. And Aikido is such a dynamic art and also such a versatile art that you can really cater it to whatever your individual needs are. It doesn't require that you have a body that's free of injury. However, when you do have certain injuries, it's important to be able to work around them. And a basic principle for working around an injury is to absorb a technique with your entire body, not just with the area that's being locked or the area that's being held. It's important that you participate fully in ukemi. So if you're recovering from, it could be a knee problem or a back injury or shoulder problems, wrist problems, any kind of a joint problem, it's important to be sensitive to that and also to gain more of a perspective with the ukemi so that if you got a bad neck, well, obviously maybe you can't bend back this way, but you may be able to turn in other ways to find where the space is that you can become soft, responsive to your partner, and be able to participate with them fully in the movement, thereby getting around your injuries, giving them a chance to heal, and finding alternatives to habitual patterns in your movement that may have been the cause of the injury in the first place. Another important thing for safety, again, is not to take the ukemi in a specific part of your body, but to try to spread it out all over. So that when the person is doing a wrist lock, like kotegaishi, it's not just your wrist that's involved, it's the entire body. If the person's throwing you properly, the entire body gets involved anyway. But it doesn't hurt for the uke to consciously make an effort to respond. When kotegaishi is being applied, your toe is just as much involved as your wrist. Soft, responsive moment ukemi is really what's a good fall. You don't necessarily have to know how to break fall. There are some people, because of their body type, that absolutely cannot take a break fall, or it wouldn't be good for them to break fall. Or there are certain types of rolls that are not good for people who have certain injuries. That doesn't mean they can't be a superb uke. It just means that the form of it is different. You take the physical form that you have and you apply it in the best possible means. That's what good ukemi is.